I never imagined my entire life would fall apart because of one email. I was 6 months into my deployment, halfway across the world, when the notification buzzed on my tablet. I thought it was my husband, Daniel, sending me one of his short updates, the kind he used to send before things got strangely quiet. But when I opened it, my stomach dropped so hard it felt like the floor disappeared under me. Subject line: "This isn't working anymore." Inside were only 3 sentences. He told me he was filing for divorce. He told me he had moved out. And he told me he had emptied our joint bank account for safety. That was it. No explanation. No kindness. No phone call. Nothing. I felt frozen. My hands shook so much I almost dropped the tablet. Soldiers talked and laughed around me, unaware that my whole world had just been ripped apart. I reread the message again and again, hoping it was some cruel prank. But it wasn't. The bank app confirmed it. Every dollar I had saved from 12 years of service gone. All our emergency money gone. Even the house account wiped clean. I wasn't angry yet. I was numb. But numbness never lasts. It twists. It sharpens. And soon, under the numbness, something else began to rise. Slow, steady, dangerous. I would find out why he did this. And when I did, he was going to regret everything. The next morning, I woke up with a burning headache and a fire in my chest. I barely slept. My mind had replayed that email 1,000 times, each time sharpening my shock into something colder. Daniel and I had been married for 8 years. 8 years of trying, saving, planning, and he thought an email was enough to end it? I tried calling him. He didn't pick up. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. I checked his social media. Every account was suddenly gone. It was like he had erased himself from my life overnight. That alone told me something was very wrong. During my lunch break, I pulled aside my closest friend on deployment, Staff Sergeant Mia Carter. She had been like a sister since basic training. "What happened?" she asked, the moment she saw my face. I told her everything. Her eyes widened. "He cleared the accounts. Becky, that's not just cold. That's criminal." I knew she was right, but reporting him from a combat zone, that wasn't simple. "Maybe he's in trouble," I said weakly. "Maybe he panicked." Mia folded her arms. "Or maybe he's been planning this for a long time." That idea pierced deeper than I expected. When I returned to my bunk, I searched our accounts again and noticed something I had somehow missed earlier. The withdrawals weren't random. They were structured, scheduled, done over a 3-day period, methodical, like someone preparing for a getaway. And suddenly I knew my husband wasn't scared. He was hiding something. My shift ended at sunset. I sat outside the barracks, staring up at the sky, trying to steady my breathing. My heart felt like it was beating too hard, too fast. Daniel wasn't spontaneous. He was careful, quiet, calculating. The kind of man who planned vacations 6 months in advance. So if he emptied our accounts in secret, step by step, it wasn't a mistake. It was a strategy. I wrote him a long message, asking for an explanation. I didn't expect an answer, but 10 minutes later he replied. A single line. "Please don't contact me again." I stared at it so long my vision blurred. This wasn't the Daniel I knew. The man I married was gentle, thoughtful, even timid. He hated conflict. He cried during movie dramas. He apologized when he wasn't wrong. So who was this cold stranger answering me now? Later that night, Mia sat beside me on my bunk. "Becky, you need to document everything. The bank theft, the email, the messages. When you go home, you're going to need proof." Proof. The word stuck in my mind. Proof of what? That my husband had betrayed me? Or that he was part of something bigger? Because the more I replayed his actions, the more something felt off. Way off. There was no argument before I left for deployment. No financial troubles. Nothing strange. Until I remembered something. 2 weeks before deployment, Daniel started coming home late. He said he was working overtime. But when I asked his coworker during a casual phone call, she said he hadn't worked a single extra shift. Back then, I shrugged it off. Now, I felt it like a knife twisting inside me. He was lying long before he broke me. The next few days, dragged by in a fog. I did my duties, followed orders, showed discipline, but inside I was unraveling. Every night, I sat alone with my tablet, digging through old messages, bank statements, photos. I wasn't searching for comfort. I was hunting for patterns. And I found one. Daniel had been moving money for months. Small transfers, hidden within legit transactions. Grocery store refunds. Gas station corrections. Even fake app charges. He had been draining us slowly. Preparing. Then came the final wipeout. My chest tightened as I stared at the pattern. This wasn't emotional. This wasn't impulsive. This was calculated theft. On the 5th night, I received an unexpected email from someone I didn't recognize. Subject: You don't know me, but we need to talk. I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. Inside was a message that made my blood run cold. I'm sorry to contact you like this, but your husband has been involved with my sister for months. She disappeared last week, and I think Daniel had something to do with it. I stopped breathing. The sender left a phone number. A man named Elliot Parker. I reread the message over and over. An affair? A missing woman? Daniel involved? None of it felt real. And yet, every instinct in me screamed that this was the missing piece I had been searching for. Mia looked over my shoulder. Becky, this is serious. Serious didn't even begin to describe it. Something dark was unfolding back home. Something dangerous. And my husband, my quiet, gentle husband, was at the center of it. The next morning, I stepped into the comms tent and dialed the number Elliot had given me. My hands trembled around the phone. He answered immediately. Becky. His voice sounded tired, shaken, like someone who hadn't slept in days. Yes. I got your email. What's going on? There was a long pause. My sister's name is Laura, he said. She started dating your husband about 6 months ago. My chest tightened painfully. Dating? Daniel told me he was working overtime. He wasn't, Elliot said quietly. He was with her. For a moment, all I heard was static. I pressed a hand against my forehead, trying not to lose control. Where is she now? She went missing 8 days ago, he said. The police aren't taking it seriously because she's an adult. But I found something on her laptop, messages between her and Daniel. And the last thing she wrote was, I'm scared. Something's wrong. Please call me. My skin prickled. Then Elliot added something that made my blood freeze. The night before she disappeared, Daniel withdrew a large sum of money. Thousands. I thought it was strange. Then yesterday, I found out he emptied your accounts too. Becky, I think he's running. Running. With stolen money. After a woman he was involved with vanished. My breath felt thin. Why come to me? I whispered. Because you're the only other person he seems connected to. And if he's willing to betray you and my sister, I don't know what he's capable of. A sharp certainty settled into my bones. My husband wasn't just hiding something. He was dangerous. For the rest of the day, I couldn't focus on anything. Not the drills. Not the briefings. Not even Mia trying to distract me with jokes that normally made me laugh. My mind kept circling the same terrifying thought. If Daniel could lie so easily, what else was he hiding? That night, I sat on my bunk with Elliot's words echoing in my ears. A missing woman, secret withdrawals, an affair running parallel to my deployment, and Daniel disappearing from every platform like he'd scrubbed himself clean. I opened Laura's social media pages. The comments were full of concern, people tagging her name, asking if she was okay. Her last post was about meeting someone new. She didn't mention Daniel by name. But in the photos, part of a man's arm appeared in one shot. Tense skin, a familiar watch. Daniel's watch. My stomach twisted, so hard I had to sit down. Why would he hide a relationship if he wanted to divorce me? Why steal everything? Why vanish? Unless it wasn't about love, or even about leaving me. It was about getting away. With money. With secrets. Possibly after hurting someone. Before bed, my commanding officer approached me. Becky, Carter told me what's happening. We'll support you, but you can't make formal moves until you're stateside. I nodded. I knew the rules, but I also knew something else. Waiting wasn't an option. Not with a missing woman. Not with Daniel on the run. If he thought being overseas meant I was powerless, he had no idea what was coming. The following morning, I requested emergency personal leave. My CO approved it, but it took 48 agonizing hours before I could board a transport back home. During that time, I dug deeper. I kept replaying the timeline. Daniel started coming home late 6 months ago. Laura, according to Elliot, started dating him around the same time. She vanished 8 days ago. The money disappeared around then, too. Everything overlapped with frightening precision. Before leaving the base, Mia squeezed my shoulder. When you get there, don't go after him alone. Contact the police. I promised I would, but deep down, I knew I wouldn't wait for anyone to solve this. Not after what he did. The flight felt endless. My thoughts bounced between rage and heartbreak. One moment I remembered our wedding day. The next, I saw his cold email. A marriage ending by digital message from thousands of miles away. When the plane landed in the U.S., I felt my pulse hammer in my ears. I wasn't the same woman who left for deployment. Something inside me had sharpened. My first stop wasn't home. I went straight to the bank to request copies of all recent transactions. The banker hesitated when she saw the amounts. You said your husband made these withdrawals, she asked carefully. Yes. Well, he wasn't alone. I froze. What do you mean? She turned her screen toward me. 2 people were captured on the ATM camera during the final withdrawal. Daniel and a woman with long dark hair. My breath caught. It wasn't Laura. It was someone else. The woman beside Daniel in the footage was unfamiliar. Younger than him, with sharp features and a confident expression. She didn't look scared or forced. She looked complicit. I printed the still image and slipped it into my folder. My mind raced. If this wasn't Laura, who was she? And why was Daniel draining money with different women? The banker cleared her throat. These withdrawals were done late at night. All within a 30-mile radius. Whoever they are, they're moving. Moving where? I thanked her and stepped outside into the cool air, gripping the folder like it was a weapon. My next call was to Elliot. It wasn't Laura, I told him. Another woman was with him. There was a long silence. That means he's not running because of my sister. He's running because of something bigger. Or something worse, I whispered. We agreed to meet at a cafe halfway between our towns. When he arrived, he looked exhausted. Dark circles, messy hair, like the stress was eating him alive. He studied the printed ATM image. I don't know her, he said. But Laura mentioned someone named Kay in her texts. She said Kay keeps pushing Daniel to do risky things. She didn't say who Kay was. A woman with a K name. Crime. Money. My pulse quickened. Elliot leaned in. Becky, what if Daniel didn't just fall into an affair? What if he got involved with something criminal? Something he couldn't get out of? My hands tightened around the picture. If Daniel was mixed up with criminals, and Laura confronted him, he might have panicked. And panicked people make dangerous choices. I drove home after meeting Elliot, but the moment I unlocked the front door, I felt like I had stepped into someone else's house. I had been gone for half a year, but it felt like years. Everything was too clean, too organized, too empty. His shoes were gone, his jackets, his books. Half our life had been erased. But the strangest part, the house didn't feel like it had been emptied in a rush. It was cleared with precision. No mess, no forgotten items, just a clean split, like he had followed a checklist. I checked our bedroom closet and noticed something odd. My belongings were untouched, but his weren't the only ones missing. A second woman's clothes were gone too. I didn't even know someone else had been staying here. A chill crawled down my spine. I started searching the house like a crime scene investigator. Slowly, methodically. Drawers, cabinets, shelves. In the desk drawer, beneath old bills, I found a crumpled sheet of paper. A handwritten note. Not in Daniel's handwriting. Meeting Thursday 11 p.m. Warehouse behind Harbor 6. Bring all the cash. No mistakes this time. K. My breath hitched. Warehouse. Cash. K. This wasn't just infidelity or abandonment. This was a criminal operation. One Daniel willingly joined. Footsteps sounded outside, and I jumped, only to realize it was a delivery driver dropping off a package for a neighbor. My heart hammered against my ribs. If Daniel was working with criminals, and if he had run out of money, they might come back. Not for him. For me. I was no longer just abandoned. I was a loose end. I locked every window, every door, and sat at the kitchen table with all the evidence laid out. The ATM photo, the secret note, the bank statements. Laura's messages, the time-stamped withdrawals. Piece by piece, the picture became clearer. Daniel hadn't just betrayed me. He had joined forces with someone dangerous. Someone who used the initial K. Someone who wasn't afraid to disappear people. And somehow, my husband had gotten in too deep. I was staring at the evidence when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My stomach tightened. I answered. Hello. A woman's voice, smooth, controlled, answered. Mrs. Becky Reed? Yes, who is this? A soft chuckle. Let's just say I'm someone who used to spend a lot of time with your husband. My blood ran cold. Where is he? I demanded. Oh, honey, she said coldly. You should be asking what he's gotten you into. My grip tightened on the phone. What do you want? There was a pause, then her voice dropped into something darker. He took something that belongs to me. And since he's too much of a coward to face the consequences, I'll be contacting you again very soon. The call ended. I stared at my shaking reflection in the microwave door. Daniel didn't just run from me. He ran from criminals. And he left me behind as the easiest target. But he made one mistake. He thought I was weak. He forgot I was a soldier. And I wasn't running. I was going to find him. And whatever he stole. Before Kay found me. After the call, I sat frozen, staring at the phone like it might ring again. My heartbeat thudded in my ears. That woman, Kay, sounded fearless, confident, dangerous. The kind of person who didn't threaten without meaning it. I knew one thing clearly now. Daniel hadn't just gotten involved with criminals. He had stolen something from them. And they wanted it back. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to the police station. I told the officer at the reception everything. Well, almost everything. I left out Daniel's affair, but I explained the missing funds, the threatening call, the strange note, and the ATM photo. He listened politely, fingers tapping the counter. Ma'am, this sounds concerning, but without proof of a crime, all we can do is file a report. I handed over the note from the desk drawer. That got his attention. He read it twice, jaw tightening. This looks like evidence of a planned exchange. Possibly criminal activity. I'll have a detective reach out. But the next part drained the hope from my chest. It may take a few days. A few days. I didn't have days. Laura didn't have days. And if Kay was coming after me, I definitely didn't have days. When I walked out of the station, the sun was already setting. A cold wind cut across my face, waking something fierce inside me. If the police couldn't move fast enough, I would. But I wasn't reckless. I needed more information first, especially about the warehouse behind Harbor 6. If Daniel was running, that was the last place he would have stayed, but it might be where everything began. Before heading to Harbor 6, I stopped by my parents' old house. It had been empty since they moved overseas, but I still kept a spare key. I didn't want to sleep in my house again, not with Kay out there. I gathered supplies, a portable charger, flashlight, notebook, water, my old military duffel. Everything I needed to move quietly and quickly. Then I sat on the dusty living room couch and spread out all the clues. Daniel's timeline was clear. 6 months ago, he starts lying about overtime. 5 months ago, begins withdrawing small amounts. Around the same time, starts seeing Laura. 8 days ago, Laura vanishes. 1 week ago, he empties our accounts. 2 days later, he emails me the divorce. Today, Kay threatens me. This wasn't random. It followed stages, like he was completing tasks for someone until he stole from them. And that someone was Kay. But the one detail bothering me the most was the ATM footage. The woman beside him wasn't Laura. So who was she? The note only said Kay. Did the Kay woman commit crimes with Daniel? Was she the mastermind? Or was Daniel the one double-crossing her? My thoughts spiraled until I noticed something I missed before. On the back of the crumpled note, faint indentations, like someone had placed another paper on top and written hard. I shaded over it with pencil. A phone number appeared. My breath caught. Another piece of the puzzle. And possibly another clue leading to Daniel. I grabbed my keys. It was time to visit Harbor 6. The harbor was nearly empty when I arrived. The air smelled like salt and gasoline. Rusted metal creaked with every breeze. I parked far enough away that no one would notice my car and walked toward Warehouse 6 with slow, quiet steps. From the outside, the building looked abandoned. The paint peeled in long gray strips, and broken windows reflected the moonlight like shattered ice. But as I got closer, I noticed something strange. The padlock on the side door was new. Not old. Not rusty. Brand new. Someone had been here recently. I pressed my ear against the metal. Silence. I slipped around the back, where trucks once loaded crates. A single tire track cut through the dirt, fresh, not weathered. I snapped a picture for evidence. Then I noticed a glint behind a stack of old cargo pallets. Something shiny. I crouched and reached into the gap. My fingers closed around a metallic object. A flash drive. I froze. Was this what Daniel stole? Was this what Kay wanted? It seemed too small, too light, too easy. But I pocketed it anyway. As I stood, a voice echoed from somewhere inside the warehouse. A man's voice. My heart slammed against my ribs. I ducked behind the pallets, holding my breath. A moment later, the door creaked open, and a large man stepped out, scanning the area with sharp eyes. He wasn't Daniel, but he was definitely looking for someone. And I had a terrible feeling who that someone was. I crouched so low my knees ached. The man wore a black jacket, tactical boots, and a scar slicing across his cheek. Not a random drifter. Someone trained. Someone dangerous. He scanned the lot with slow, sharp movements. Kay said she'd come here eventually, he muttered into a walkie-talkie. My lungs froze. They weren't looking for Daniel. They were looking for me. Nothing yet, he continued. But her car wasn't at the house. She's moving. Kay was tracking me already. Sweat trickled down my spine, but I didn't dare move. Should I grab the package? The man asked. A voice through the radio responded, No. Keep watch. If she shows, take her. Kay wants a direct conversation. Direct conversation. Those words tasted like danger. The man paced around, lighting a cigarette. The flame briefly illuminated his face, and I recognized him. He was the same man in the background of the ATM footage. The one half hidden behind Daniel and the unknown woman. My heart pounded. They weren't just partners. They were a team. And Daniel was part of it. The man flicked the cigarette, looked around one more time, then stepped back inside. The door clicked shut. I didn't move for several minutes. Only when my muscles started to shake did I crawl backward, inch by inch, until I reached the shadows. Once I got to the car, I drove away as quietly as I could. I had proof now. Kay's operation wasn't just real. It was organized, structured, dangerous, and Daniel wasn't a victim. He was involved with them. Deeply. By the time I returned to my parents' house, my hands were trembling so hard I had to grip the steering wheel with both fists. I locked the doors, checked the windows twice, then dropped onto the couch. I pulled out the flash drive and stared at it. If Daniel risked everything to steal this, it had to contain something valuable. Dangerous. Damning. But plugging it into my laptop felt risky. If it was tracked or infected with malware, I'd reveal my location. So I dug through my father's old belongings until I found something perfect. His offline, no Wi-Fi, 10-year-old laptop. I connected the flash drive. A single folder appeared. LK files, confidential. LK. Laura. K. My stomach twisted as I opened the folder. Inside were documents, scans of IDs, wiring instructions, account numbers, emails, illegal transactions, offshore accounts, lists of names with payment logs, big payments, and one file labeled Daniel Leverage. My pulse thundered. I clicked it. Photos of Daniel appeared, meeting Kay, handing over envelopes, carrying bags, sitting in cars with unknown people. Evidence of him doing things he never wanted me to know. Then the last photo nearly knocked the air out of my lungs. Daniel, standing beside Laura, outside a motel, on the night she vanished. Tears stung my eyes. Daniel wasn't running from Kay. He was running from the consequences of what he did. I covered my mouth with my shaking hand. My husband wasn't just a traitor. He was a criminal. And maybe worse. I stared at the last photo until my eyes burned. Daniel stood close to Laura, one hand on her arm, his expression tense, almost angry. Laura looked frightened, glancing toward the parking lot as if someone was watching them. The timestamp was 2 hours before she disappeared. My stomach tightened. This wasn't some innocent meeting. This wasn't a goodbye. This was something darker. I copied every file from the flash drive to the old laptop. Then I slipped the drive into a plastic bag and hid it inside my duffel. Before I could process another thought, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Not Kay this time. A text message. You're getting close. Stop digging if you want to stay alive. A chill wrapped around my spine. They knew. They were watching. Maybe even close. I checked the windows again, still locked. I forced myself to breathe as I typed a single reply. What did you do to Laura? No response. The house felt smaller. Quieter. Too quiet. A minute later, another message arrived. Ask Daniel. My breath caught. Daniel. Alive. Hidden. Watching me burn for answers he caused. I dialed the number immediately, but it was disconnected. Then another text appeared, this one sending my pulse skyrocketing. If you want him, follow the money. The money. The withdrawals. The offshore accounts. The evidence in the LK folder. This was a trail, one Daniel left behind, whether by accident or desperation. And I was done being scared. If they wanted me to follow the money, I would. And I'd find Daniel first. I spent the entire night studying the flash drive documents. The transactions followed a strange pattern, large sums deposited into offshore accounts, then split into smaller ones. A laundering chain. One account repeated more than the others. Arcadia Holdings. I'd never heard of it, but the name appeared 14 times across different files, each time connected to a different client. The amounts were huge, money meant for something big. And on the most recent page, a final payment was highlighted. $780,000 to be delivered by Daniel Reed. My heart slammed against my ribs. Daniel had taken nearly $780,000 from Kay's organization. No wonder she wanted him dead. No wonder she called me. This wasn't missing person drama. This was organized crime money. And Daniel stole it. I scrolled through the emails. One stood out, sent from a burner address to Daniel's old inbox. If you're not here by Friday, your wife pays the price. Kay. Friday. Tomorrow. My entire body went cold. They weren't threatening me to scare me. They were threatening me to get him to come out of hiding. Daniel had put a target on my back to save himself. My grief twisted into something sharper. Resolve. I grabbed the paper with the faintly imprinted phone number, the one I found behind the note at our house. I dialed it. 2 rings. Then a familiar voice answered. Daniel. Weak. Panicked. Whispering. Becky, don't call this number. They're watching. You weren't supposed to get involved. He sounded terrified. And guilty. Very, very guilty. My breath hitched. Hearing his voice after weeks of silence ignited a storm inside me. Rage. Heartbreak. Relief. Disgust. Where are you? I demanded. Daniel hesitated, whispering like someone was nearby. I can't tell you. It's not safe. You need to leave the country, Becky. They think I gave you something. They think you have the files. I do have the files, I snapped. What did you do to Laura? Silence. A long, suffocating silence. Daniel, I pressed. Did you hurt her? I didn't mean for anything to happen, he whispered. She wasn't supposed to be there that night. Kay was furious. She said Laura knew too much. My throat closed. Is she alive? He swallowed audibly. I don't know. Don't lie to me. She ran, Daniel said quickly. She got away from the motel. I chased her because I was trying to help. Don't. My voice cracked. You're lying. He let out a broken exhale. Becky, please. You need to listen. I stole the money because I wanted out. I thought Kay wouldn't notice. But she always notices. I clenched the phone so tight my knuckles whitened. So you stole almost $800,000 and then used me as bait to hide yourself. He didn't deny it. My whole chest felt like fire. Where's the money, Daniel? I asked coldly. He inhaled sharply. I buried it. I never planned to keep it. I just needed leverage. But now Kay is hunting me, hunting you, everyone connected to me. Then tell me where it is. He didn't answer, because someone in the background shouted. Found him. He's here. Daniel gasped. The call cut off. Daniel? Daniel! I shouted into the phone, but the line was dead. My entire body locked in place. Kay's people had found him. And if they captured him, they'd come for me next. assuming he told me everything. I paced the room, trying to think clearly. Daniel said he'd buried the money. Kay said I was involved. The flash drive showed everything. The key to this puzzle wasn't Daniel. It was the money. If I could find it first, I'd have leverage. Maybe enough to protect myself. Maybe enough to expose Kay entirely. But Daniel hadn't told me the location. Then something clicked in my memory. A spot Daniel always went to when he needed to think. A place from his childhood. Ridgewood Park. Near the old oak tree by the river. We used to picnic there. He once joked, if I ever pull off a heist, this is where I'd hide the treasure. At the time I laughed. Now I clenched my jaw. I grabbed my duffel, ensuring the flash drive was secured, and headed for the door. But when I stepped onto the porch, my blood froze. A black sedan was parked across the street. No lights, no movement, just sitting there, watching. Kay's people had found me too. I backed into the house quietly and locked the door. I needed an escape route. There was only one option, the back alley that connected to the neighbor's yard. But first, I shut off every light in the house. If they were watching, they wouldn't see me coming. I slipped out the back door, staying low, moving through shadows. Years of training took over, quiet steps, controlled breathing, hyper-awareness. I hopped the fence into the neighbor's backyard, heart pounding, and crept along the hedge line. The sedan didn't move. Good. When I reached my car, parked 3 blocks away, I checked the mirrors twice before getting inside. If Kay wanted to track me, she'd have to work for it. The drive to Ridgewood Park felt endless. Every pair of headlights behind me made me tense. Every dark turn felt like a trap. But no one followed. Not yet. This is the address Daniel gave me if something happened to him. It's where he hid the real evidence. What's on the flash drive is bad, but what's in this place? She swallowed. It could bring Kendall down forever. I unfolded the paper. It was a storage unit address. Unit 34C. Gate code 7-1-1-5. A chill ran down my arms. Kara grabbed my hand. You can't let Kendall find it first. I drove away from the bus stop with the paper clutched in my fist. Everything in me felt torn. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to find Daniel and shake him for leaving me in this storm. But the soldier part of me, the part that survived deployments and missions, kicked in. I had 2 options. 1, hand over the flash drive and hope they leave me alone. But people like Kendall never stop at one promise. 2, go to the storage unit and find what Daniel hid. And risk everything. I parked outside my parents' house and rested my head on the steering wheel. He didn't abandon me. He didn't rob me. He didn't even stop loving me. He was running for his life. And now they were after mine. I looked at the paper again. Unit 34C. Tomorrow I would go there. Not alone. Not scared. But ready. Because Kendall thought she was hunting a heartbroken woman. She had no idea she was hunting a trained soldier on a mission. And I was done being the victim. The next morning felt heavier than any day before. I barely slept. Every sound outside made me sit up, listening, waiting, watching. By sunrise, I grabbed the note Kara gave me and headed for the storage facility on the edge of town. It sat beside a long dirt road with tall weeds and old fences. The place looked forgotten, like nobody had rented a unit here in years. Perfect place to hide something. The metal gate buzzed when I typed the code, 7-1-1-5. Inside, the rows of storage units stretched out like a maze. 34C was at the far end. My footsteps echoed on the concrete as I walked down the hallway. When I reached the unit, I paused and looked around twice. No cars. No people. No strange shadows. Still, my heart pounded, so loud it felt like the sound filled the whole row. I took a breath and lifted the metal door. Inside, it was dark and dusty, but not empty. A single folding table sat in the center. On it was a small black box. Nothing else. My stomach tightened. I stepped in and shut the door halfway, just enough to hear if someone approached. Then I opened the box. Inside were 3 items. 1, a thick envelope. 2, a prepaid phone. 3, a small notebook with Daniel's handwriting. My throat tightened. I picked up the notebook. The first page read, "If you're reading this, I couldn't get out." My eyes stung, but I kept reading. Kendall is more dangerous than you think. She doesn't just run scams. She controls people, scares them, owns them. I tried to leave. I tried to protect you. I'm sorry. Page after page explained how he got trapped, how he kept secrets to keep me safe, how he gathered evidence, names, dates, deals, to bring Kendall down. The last line made my heart stop. I love you. I didn't leave you. I ran so they wouldn't come after you. I hope you never find this unless you're strong enough to fight back. I closed the notebook with shaking hands. I was strong enough, but something else in the box caught my eye. The envelope was thick, too thick for just papers. I opened it slowly. Inside were copies of legal documents, transaction logs, and letters, but tucked between them was something that made my breath catch. A passport. Daniel's passport. But the picture page had been cut out. He wasn't planning to leave the country after all. He wanted Kendall to think he had left, so she would stop chasing him. But he was still somewhere close, still hiding, still running. And I had just stepped into the middle of everything. I slipped the phone and notebook into my bag, closed the door, and headed back to my car. But when I climbed in, there was a piece of paper sticking under my windshield wiper, for words written in bold black ink. We know you're here. My chest tightened. They had found me. I didn't go home. I didn't even drive toward town. I sped down the highway until I reached a gas station far outside the city. My hands shook so badly I had to sit for a moment. The note on my windshield meant one thing. Someone watched me go into the storage unit, which meant they were closer than I thought. I pulled the prepaid phone out of the box and turned it on. It beeped once, battery low. I plugged it into my car charger. Before I could think, the phone buzzed. A message appeared. Unknown number. You shouldn't have touched his things. My stomach dropped. I typed back quickly. Who is this? The reply came fast. Kay told you not to play hero. Too bad you didn't listen. My pulse raced. They were watching me in real time. Before I could type again, another message appeared. Meet us tonight. Same place. Alone. Or you won't like what comes next. My hands tightened around the phone. Kendall wanted the real evidence. She thought the flash drive was everything, but the notebook and the papers in the envelope were far more dangerous for her. I couldn't let her get them. Not now. Not ever. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat, grabbed my real phone, and called the only person I trusted. Mia. She picked up on the first ring. What's wrong? She asked, voice sharp. Mia. I need help. Serious help. I'm on my way, she said without even asking where. That's the thing about a friend who's basically family. They don't wait for explanations. They run toward you, not away. I met Mia at an empty park 30 minutes later. She showed up in her old gray SUV, hair pulled into a tight bun, eyes full of worry. She stepped out and walked straight toward me. Start talking. I told her everything. Kara, the video, the storage unit, the threats, the notebook. Her jaw tightened with every sentence. When I finished, she crossed her arms. So your husband got mixed up with a crime boss, she said. And now the crime boss thinks you have proof that could destroy her. Pretty much, I said weakly. Mia didn't even blink. Becky, why didn't you call me sooner? I let out a shaky breath. I didn't want to drag you into something this dangerous. She shook her head. We served together. You're not dragging me anywhere. I'm standing with you. For the first time in days, something warm spread in my chest. Safety. Support. Strength. Mia leaned into my window. First rule, she said, voice low. You don't meet anyone alone. Ever. Second rule, delete your routines. No going home, no going to places they can predict. Third, we outsmart, not outrun. I nodded slowly. And the evidence? She asked. I held up the notebook and envelope. Her eyes widened. If this is real, the police will finally listen. Yes, I said. But we have to stay alive long enough to hand it over. She tapped her fingers on the roof of my car. Then we protect these things like our lives depend on them, because they do. We drove to an empty overlook outside town, somewhere with only one road in and one road out. Easy to see if someone followed us. Mia stood guard while I opened the envelope again. Inside were pages with messy handwriting. Some looked like Daniel copied things, quickly while hiding. Names. Dates. Secret meetings. People paid off. Codes. But one page made both of us freeze. It listed Payments to Officer R.G. monthly. Mia's eyes narrowed. R.G. I know that name. You do? I asked. She nodded slowly. Detective Raymond Grant. Local police. He's high-ranking. My heart sank. If Detective Grant was involved, then going to the police wasn't safe. At least, not to everyone. I flipped to the next page. Another name. S.W. Location leaks/protection. Mia leaned closer. S.W. Sheriff Wallace. My pulse quickened. Kendall has police under her control, I whispered. Mia exhaled sharply. That explains why she's so bold. I closed the envelope. Then the only people we can trust, I said quietly, are each other. Mia put a hand on my shoulder. We'll figure this out. Together. The sun started to set, painting the sky orange and purple. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I had a clear plan. Tonight, I said. Kendall expects me at Warehouse 6. Mia frowned. You're not actually going. I'm not, I said firmly. But someone else will be watching the warehouse from a safe distance. We need to see who shows up, who she's working with, who's loyal to her. And while they wait at the warehouse, Mia said slowly, we'll be moving somewhere they never expect. Yes. Where? I opened the notebook to the last page Daniel wrote. At the bottom, he had scribbled something small. If you're in danger, go to the place where we first met. My breath caught. I knew exactly where he meant. Mia stared at me. Becky, are you saying he might be there? I don't know, I whispered. But it's the only lead we have left. Mia grabbed her keys. Then what are we waiting for? I looked at the notebook, the flash drive, the envelope. Evidence that could destroy Kendall. Evidence people were willing to hunt for. Evidence people were willing to hurt for. I gripped everything tightly. Tonight, I said, feeling something fierce grow inside me, we find the truth. And maybe, just maybe, we find Daniel.